Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about a type of weather system that we haven't talked about in a very long time, and that is a snowstorm. And it is going to be blasting across the Rockies, and I'm going to be giving you all the latest updates and forecasts, and what places could see a lot of snow, possibly over a foot. Before I continue, however, be sure to press like and subscribe with those notifications on so you do not miss the best weather content. And we're just going to get started looking at the satellite to see where the storm is now and where it will be headed in the future. All right, as you can see, with what's organized of the system right now, pretty much just some convection, if you want to call it quote-unquote convection, but just some cloud tops. Obviously, some precipitation is being produced, and this low is going to continue to eject out of the Rockies. And once it does that, converge with some with a moist flow coming out of the south. Maybe even some moisture coming off of the tropical storm that's in the Pacific right now. Maybe some lingering moisture from that, some moisture from the Gulf. It's all going to be lifted north and kind of like converging in this zone. And that's where we're going to see a lot of snow. But the low doesn't look like too much right now. But we do have a dip in the jet stream. And that's what we see on the GFS model. Definitely a big dip in the trough. We have like an upper level low kind of sitting there. And of course, the surface low is also going to form, right? And you can see that as this pulls out of the Rockies. All right, you can see the low will be moving right along the jet stream, pretty much upwards like this. And a slightly farther north and west track does mean that areas in the lowlands probably won't see as much snow. And we do know that even lowland areas in the northern central can see snow in October. It's not really completely out of the question, but because the colder air aloft is situated over here, like in Montana and Wyoming and Utah and Colorado, not to mention these areas are higher elevation anyway, so that's really going to help. But that is where the cold air aloft is. All right, you kind of got the jet stream, kind of upper level trough digging down, and that's where that cold air aloft is. Not to mention, when the low is running up a trend that goes like this, you're going to have the counterclockwise flow going like this, and that's going to mean that the low is also going to generate its own cold air. And due to those combination of factors, that's where most of the snow is going to be across Wyoming and Montana, and you'll see that reflected in the models. Now, that's not to say we could see a little bit of cold air sneak in on the back side of it. And that's where I think western North Dakota, western South Dakota maybe could get a glancing blow. But South Dakota, the one place in South Dakota that could see a significant amount of snow would be the Black Hills, because obviously you guys are higher up in elevation. Then the low pretty much just whisked itself out of here by the time we head into a middle part of the week. So it won't be hanging around for too long, but we will see its effects. And it will definitely be making its presence known. All right, so here we have the low. Again, pretty much some rain and mountain snow. Snow is falling at higher elevations. Snow levels will be dropping. Now, when you hear that, you might think, wait, so does that mean less snow? No, when we say snow levels are dropping in the higher elevations, we mean that, say there's snow at 8,000 feet and the low is going to drop to 5,000. That means the snow is getting closer to the ground. So that's what I mean when I say snow levels are dropping. You'll hear that term a lot when you hear about the Rockies. But snow levels will be dropping. Snow will get closer to lower elevations. But, of course, the higher elevations will be definitely seeing the snow. But do not rule out that lower elevations won't see anything. All right, this is definitely going to be some major impacts. And especially for the mountainous resorts, I know it's going to be some major good impacts because the drought. And we'd love to see snowstorm after snowstorm. As I've been seeing in the models, this may be the only one for a little while, maybe for the next week or two temporarily. But this will definitely put a big dent in the drought and definitely will help, obviously, with the ski resorts. Maybe, if they're deciding, should I open or not, this could definitely help make their decision. But moderate to heavy snow, but watch as the pressure drops into the low 990s here. Pretty much similarly, if you were to look at this from like a hurricane perspective or a tropical system, this would be like a strong tropical storm, weak category 1 hurricane kind of strength. I mean, we're not going to see those kind of winds, but just in terms of pressure. So this low will definitely be winding up for sure. We're going to have the moist flow coming out of the south here. You can even see it in the pressure isobox, how it kind of wraps around. All right, so it's going to be kind of taking this kind of form. Cold air on the northwest side where we have that colder air aloft. So snow for places like, Montana and Wyoming, it's pretty much snowing there now. Probably will be starting to ramp up a little bit into Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Wednesday starts to kind of fizzle out a little bit. Wednesday, we start to see the snow shift a little bit further to the east. So we got like Wyoming and then the western Dakotas. That's when you guys get your glancing blow, all right? And notice, close to that rain snow line, I've been saying this for the past couple years, right? Closer to that rain snow line, your temperatures do go up, but your flakes do also get a lot bigger and your snowfall rates will get a lot heavier. So, if the temperatures do stay cold enough and the snow is falling heavy enough, it will stick. And when you see those dark blues, that's where that heavy snow is. So for areas over here, like in the higher elevations, snow will be still heavy, but it won't be as heavy, but it will be falling for a longer period of time. For areas in western North Dakota, western South Dakota, pretty much flirting with the border of Montana and Wyoming, like in this zone that I highlighted in black, it won't be snowing as long for you, but the rate will also be a lot heavier. So all depends on how much cold air can really wrap in around that system to see maybe do the low elevations of North and South Dakota in the western part of the state, do they get some snow? And I definitely think they will. How much does depend on the cold air. And as you can see, the low takes a track more like this. You will find the snow on that northwest side. All right. And there'll be a lot of maps that I'll be showing you, not just a preset map, and snowfall tools. There'll be a lot more maps as well, so be sure to stay tuned. Then the low moves off to the north, and we will have some, light mountain snow, nothing too unusual behind it. Now, precipitable water. This is another interesting map because how much moisture is there, right? More moisture, heavier the snowfall, right? Now, obviously, the most precipitable water will be to the south because it's obviously way hotter down there, more moist-filled atmosphere. But even still, right? I mean, some in here near the low center. That's why the flakes, the snowflakes, they get bigger and the snowfall falls heavier because there's higher moisture in the atmosphere and the snow will fall heavier and accumulate better. Of course, if the temperatures do cooperate, right? So as the low moves to the north, right, you see slightly darker shades in here as opposed to over here, right? And even if we go back earlier when it's still snowing in Wyoming, right, you do see some lighter greens. And again, depending on depending on the screen you're watching, you might not be able to see it too well, but the greens are ever so slightly darker, closer to the low center. So that's where you have slightly more moisture. So if we click here, for example, all right, we'll click on a random model sounding. I think this was Wyoming we just clicked on here. And you can see that the PWatt on the right side of the screen says 0.41 inches, right? And if we get closer to the low center, maybe eastern Wyoming, maybe on the Nebraska border, we see 0.6 inches, right? So slightly more moisture in the atmosphere, and therefore snow could fall heavier. And again, it will depend, but of course the higher precipitable water will be on the east, on that warm side of the system, right? You got the moisture here, dry air is wrapping around this way. And of course that will help to end the snowfall eventually for most of you guys. All right, now snowfall totals with the GFS model, they've been really honing in on the Black Hills, maybe getting over a couple of feet. And according to GFS, now this does include sleet, by the way, do keep that in mind. 12 to 18 inches of snow and sleet, pretty much on the North Dakota-Montana border and the South Dakota-Wyoming border. All right, very heavy snow also in the mountains up there kind of near Casper. Pretty much 12 to 18 inches. Anywhere in this magenta pink, at least 6 inches. Anywhere order from 6 to 12. Even Denver, you could get a little bit, but I would say highest accumulations for Colorado will be west of Denver. All right, in the slopes west of Denver. If we go to the Canadian model, again, pretty similar, I would say, except the snowfall does look a bit different for the Dakotas, right? Because notice they actually have some snow falling in patchy areas near the Black Hills before the low actually starts passing by, right? Maybe some more snow for you guys. Now, again, when the low makes its pass near South Dakota, is that rain or is that snow? All right, that is very, very, temperature dependent. Not only the surface temperature, but what's this temperature at 500 millibars? I'm sorry, 850 millibars or 500 millibars or 700 millibars. All right, because that's where the snow starts forming up in the upper levels, mid levels of the atmosphere, and that depends along with the surface temperature. Now, according to the Canadian model, as the low moves to the north, look at how much blue there is, right? And near the Dakotas and Montana, right? But watch as the low moves even farther north and we start to lose that blue. So we lose the cold air and it kind of just turns into all rain. But the Canadian model also does have some more robust, leftovers, if you want to call it, leftovers of snow. Maybe another little disturbance could actually kick out after that. So if we look at the precipitable water, right, so you can see as this low moves to the north, right, kind of near Wyoming, Nebraska, you got your highest precipitable water in there. And remember, I'm highlighting the area that has the highest precipitable water that has the potential to see snow, right? Obviously, the highest precipitable water is probably down here, but they're not going to see snow. All right, so I'm trying to kind of get the best overlay, if you will. But of course, as the low moves north, the dry air will be, kind of ingesting behind it, kind of like what would happen to a hurricane. But of course, on the northwest side of it, there will be some moisture, enough to bring out some snow. Remember, I mean, these guys get a lot of snow up here. It doesn't take much moisture to really rain out some snow. They get snow up here all the time. Now, if we look back at this screenshot here, right, I'm going to sort of highlight. I'm actually going to scroll up here. It'll be better to compare that way. So if we look here at, say, this region, kind of like they're on the border between heavy snow and heavy rain, right? The dark blue is heavy snow, and the yellows that you see mixed in there is like heavy rain, right? Like we're kind of flirting with either snow or rain. Well, when you go to the temperature graph, right, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And I'll go to an example, right? Okay, sadly I can actually not get the soundings. But if you look in here, if I take this off and look at the temperatures, right? On that eastern flank, it's like in the mid-30s. And on that western flank of that zone, it's at or below freezing. So, you know, it's really dependent on the temperature. If we're in like in the mid-30s, then it's going to be tough. Because remember, this is the first snow of the season. So temperatures in this area have been warm recently. So, you know, even if it does get cold enough, you know, is the ground itself still cold enough to, you know, really have that snow stick? And even the higher elevations in Nevada, look at this, like in single digits, that's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think about for October, but I mean, probably not all that rare out there. But anyway, even if snowfall is falling very heavily and we see temperatures 35, 36, I'm not really sure if it would stick even on the grassy surfaces. Definitely not the road surfaces, but the grassy surfaces, even so, because, you know, we've been warm here recently, right? Like if it was cold, if we had like cold temperatures below freezing for like a few days straight before this arrived, then I would say yeah, but because it's been warm recently, not quite sure. Now remember, the snowfall totals that you see depicted by these models is how much is falling from the air, not how much will end up on the ground. I do want to point that out because people are like, well, I was predicting, you know, 12 inches of snow. Where is my snow? I only got a couple inches, right? Because this is what's falling from the air. If we look here, snowfall totals, heavier totals again. Canadian models seem to point out Montana, Wyoming is what I've been seeing common trend. And even the Western Dakotas, kind of like what the GFS was saying, could get upwards of around a foot. If that snow comes down hard and fast, maybe a foot could fall, and maybe we could see, you know, 5 to 8 plus maybe sticking on the ground, depending on how much colder we can get worked in there. And of course, with that little secondary disturbance that gets kicked out there, maybe Denver could actually get a few inches of snow as well. But again, higher totals nonetheless for Colorado, like I said earlier, will be in the western part of the state. NAM 3KM, we actually are close enough to the arrival of the storm that we can use the NAM model actually, which is kind of cool. And you can see the bands of severe weather that we have in Nebraska, Kansas, but also the heavy snow we have in Montana and Wyoming. This is definitely going to be a major impact to the ski resorts in a good way. Major impact to travel in a bad way. But again, it's once that low really winds up and starts to track north, because on that trajectory, you can really get the wraparound flow. And eastern Montana, northeastern Wyoming is where you get that real heavy snow. And, you know, if temperatures are cold enough, you could really start to see that snow stick. All right, so let's actually get the temperatures pulled up. This is for 7 a.m. Eastern time or local time on Wednesday. All right, and let's pull up here. So we're talking about southeastern Montana, right? Notice your temperatures, some around the mid-30s, maybe even the low 30s farther south. So that's enough for snow to stick as long as it's below freezing. And as long as we haven't been too warm recently, which I don't think we have been, considering we're in the high elevations. If we go to the snowfall forecast here, now, honestly, I kind of agree with this a little bit more, especially for the Dakotas. Because they have the Dakotas getting a couple inches, maybe a few inches of snow. And then the Black Hills is like the bullseye where we get like a foot of snow. Honestly, I do agree with that more. Especially, you know, even if the other models are saying that the Western Dakotas could get a foot of snow, that could mean that a few inches does end up on the ground. Because, of course, you know, it depends on how much it sticks, the temperatures. I feel like this is actually a good representation on how much could end up on the ground, not just what falls from the air. But if we look here at Montana and Wyoming, I feel like southern Montana and northern Wyoming is going to be the bullseye. You're going to see at least 6 to 12. You go higher up, you could even get over like 1 to 2 feet plus. Again, western Colorado, pretty much a good chunk of the state of Utah, those higher elevations, is where we're going to see the heavier snow. And of course, we could not forget about the European model. Now, on pivotal weather, it's definitely it was kind of hard to get in the right region without leaving some states out. So I just did the continental United States full map and just zoomed in a lot, which is why it looks a little bit weird. So we're going to kind of time this out here, and you can still see the timing and everything, so it works out good. This is Tuesday morning. Again, snow is falling from Utah all the way up to Montana. Even some higher elevation to Arizona, New Mexico, maybe some rain-snow mix could be in store for you guys. And then the local starts to happen, right? The low really winds up, it ejects out from the Rockies, it starts to strengthen. That's what usually happens with these systems. And then places like Wyoming, Montana, and now the Western Dakotas, which the Euro, you can see some hot pink mixed in there. The low is really winding up a lot stronger, and it can produce more of its own cold air. In addition to the high pressure over here, which is kind of already giving us that cold air aloft. All right, so you can see the low. Look at the snow, how it kind of wraps around. Or you can kind of see the trajectory of the snow, how it's shaped like that, right? And then, of course, we got the kind of the line out ahead of it, right? The line of severe weather, line of thunderstorms. It's amazing to see these mid-latitude cyclones, how they rotate. It's always amazing to look at. And if we look, again, similar to another model that we looked at, right? It was a Canadian model, I think. As it moves north, it loses that cold air. You would think Canada, like, what's Canada going to get snow, right? Well, it's actually losing its cold air because the low is weakening a little bit. All right. Now, of course, once it gets extremely north in Canada, then of course it pretty much has to snow up there because it's already cold. But definitely an idea that it's going to be weakening, losing its cold air. Snow totals, Black Hills are calling for over 3 feet for the European model. It's a little overdone. Now, I'm not saying that some areas, like if you get a heavy burst of snow and those heavy snowfall rates, you could get it over a foot or two. But 3 feet, especially for the Black Hills, if you put 3 feet like over here, maybe a little bit more convincing. But 3 feet's a little bit too much, although in the highest mountaintops it could happen. But 1 to 2 feet is a good aim there for the higher elevations. Over a foot in those red areas, so again, southern Montana, northern Wyoming is the bullseye. And of course, Utah can't rule out getting quite a few inches, same with Colorado. And even the Euro was also highlighting the westernmost part of the Dakotas. But in terms of like, lowland areas like Minneapolis, Bismarck, North Platte, Omaha, maybe North Platte could get a minimal amount, but those areas are going to pretty much kind of miss out on the snow for this system. But definitely there will be more to come this winter for sure. So definitely stay tuned. But yeah, it's first base snowstorm of the season, especially for you guys up there in the higher elevations in the Rockies. So I hope you guys go out and enjoy it. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for updates. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time.